It's our week one preview as the Eagles open their Super Bowl defense with the Dallas Cowboys. Hi, welcome to the Shots Engineer NFL podcast for Thursday, September 4th, 2025. We have finally made it. We have made it to the regular season. We are going to preview actual games today. Of course, you can still get the almanac if you want to preview the season. FTN Football Almanac still available. ftnfantasy.com/almanac or on Amazon now for a lower price now that we are closer to the season. And you can read it this weekend, but by this weekend, games will have already happened, starting with tonight's opener, which is the Eagles against the Dallas Cowboys. And of course, that gives us a chance to talk about the Micah Parsons trade, which came down a few hours after we recorded last week's episode. Mike, I know you want to lay into the Cowboys on this, so take it away.
I don't. I'm kind of done with the analysis of this because I think we anticipated that the Cowboys were a dumpster fire, and now there's flames coming out of the dumpster, and we can see it. When we didn't do it last week, we wound up both doing it, I think, on radio and other podcasts. Is it just me, or could a caveman analyze this deal and what it means for both sides?
Well, I mean, I think that there is analytical reason to believe that perhaps the addition of Micah Parsons is a little overstated because one defensive player doesn't have the same effect on a team as a quarterback. And when you trade 2 first-round picks to get a defensive player and then pay him basically above market rate, I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. You know, you have to ask, are you really getting value? That being said, it's going to make the Packers better this year. It's going to make the Cowboys worse.
Right.
This is exactly what the Packers needed. This isn't just they decided to overpay a really great player. They decided to overpay a really great player who was exactly what they needed. Their biggest weakness for a team that likes to just rush 4 and play basic defense. They needed a top pass rusher. My God, was this good for the Packers. And for the Cowboys, you just go, okay, well, maybe once they realized that Parsons wasn't going to re-sign, might as well get first-round picks and Kenny Clark to improve the run defense. Mm-hmm. But why did we get to this point? The biggest question with the Cowboys is not why did they do this deal? It's how did we get to this point? The best result for the Cowboys was not to keep Parsons or to trade Parsons. It was to re-sign Parsons months ago.
Yes.
And keep him at a lower rate.
Right. And there might have been a different conversation had they made this move in March and gotten a first-round pick this year and said, oh, look, we got Jalen Walker with the other first-round pick. And then with the cap savings, we went out and we signed guy X, guy Y, guy Z. It's different a week beforehand because when you talk about overpaying, you're talking about 2027. Let's let 2027 be 2027. Cowboys play tonight. Packers play on Sunday. And I'll say this because you have projections, updated projections.
Yeah, we updated and we made the Packers went from 14th or 15th in projected defensive DVOA to 6th.
Right.
It was actually 3rd originally, and then I realized that Kenny Clark was in the deal, and Kenny Clark does have some value.
Okay. 14th to 6th. And then the Cowboys went down.
From 13th to 17th, I believe.
13th to 17th. Usually I wait for the email from you or wait for the posting where it says, well, the analytics say one player doesn't make that much of a difference, so while this is exciting, it's not that big a deal. From the way you describe this, the analytics say this is a big deal. Those are big.
I mean, the reason why it's less of a big deal is that the difference between ranks and defense is smaller than the difference between ranks and offense because it's hard to project defense. But I feel like we are underselling it. I feel like when you look specifically, not at like how many approximate value does Micah Parsons add to the Packers, but when you look at what kind of defensive scheme did the Packers play,
right?
What did they need? What was their biggest weakness? I feel like we're underselling the value of adding Parsons.
That makes sense. And that's before we start talking about vibes where this team looks like they need something to propel them over. And the Cowboys need some kind of good news. And both of them, well, the Packers get what they need and the Cowboys get what I suppose they deserve. We've got new projections, and this impacted the projections as well for the season.
Yes, the Packers went up, not above the Lions. We still have the Lions above the Packers, but the Packers went up a little bit, and the Cowboys went down a little bit. And, I mean, I think this definitely makes the Packers a better team.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. What I said in one tweet was, I feel like this doesn't matter that much for how many wins we would expect the Packers to have in the regular season. But what it matters for is when we get to the playoffs where the margins are tiny and every little bit helps. I
Mm-hmm.
think this makes it a lot more likely that they're going to win playoff games.
Yeah, or potentially different wins, where this is like the one win they need over to split with the Lions and change things like that. Let me put it this way: right now, to win the NFC North, Packers are plus 165, Lions are plus 190. It sounds like
Yeah.
from what you're telling me, you
I
might.
would disagree with that. I would still put the Lions ahead of the Packers,
Okay,
but
we play the plus
but I
one.
mean, this made the Packers better. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no question about it. What do you think? Useful Title asks about Parsons' supposed bad back. I feel like a lot of the Parsons back stuff was him just not wanting to play for the Cowboys, right? I mean,
Right, but now we have this. He's going to need a shot or a cortisone shot, and I don't know if this was some minor lingering thing or if we're getting a whole bunch of snow being blown to like verify that he wasn't holding out or holding in. I don't know. No one seems that concerned for real. For real, it sounds like something we're being told. Whereas Parsons was practicing, he might not be 100%. Maybe this is why he will only play 20 snaps because he's not in full condition or whatever. I don't think we're going to be hearing about Parsons' back in October.
By the way, we don't do a lot of fantasy questions, but we do have one from Mr. Nice Guy who drafted Dak Prescott and wants to know if he should start him against the Eagles or J.J. McCarthy against Chicago.
No, Dak.
I feel like Dak will get better number, even with the quality of the Eagles defense, especially because if you look at last year, the Eagles beat the Cowboys 34-6 and 41-7.
Yeah.
You put that same Eagles offense on the field, but now you have Dak Prescott instead of the backup quarterback for Dallas. Mm-hmm. Now Dallas is scoring 20 points because they're like throwing the ball a ton in the second half, trying to come back. So I agree with you. I would play Dak, even though the Eagles defense is really good.
Yeah, the Eagles could get a blowout in this, and you can get 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. I would take Dak, and JJ's a mystery box.
Right, and there's no Addison.
There's no Addison. You do have a banged up secondary there. Eagles secondary has some holes in it, and Dak will be gunning for it.
I mean, obviously, the big question here is the Eagles and Saquon Barkley running all over the Cowboys. The Cowboys were 29th in run defense DVOA last year.
Right.
Can Kenny Clark and Solomon Thomas help that? It's strange, actually. It was one of Saquon's worst games last year, only 66 yards in week 10. But partly that's because the Eagles blew the Cowboys out by so much that they didn't even need to use Barkley late in the game.
Right. That was a Gainwell special there. And we're saying Kenny Clark and Solomon Thomas. What we're saying is Kenny Clark. Solomon Thomas has been hanging around the NFL for like 9 years as sort of that other guy there. So Kenny Clark should be an improvement there. But are the Cowboys going to get positive plays from their pass rush if they get the Eagles into a third down? Who's the pass rusher now that's going to do this? Dante Fowler? Speaking of
I mean, probably not. I mean, the rookie they have Ezraku, the rookie from Boston College, second-round pick. Marshawn Nealand, who was a second-round pick last year, I think.
This year, the year before. Yeah, he's a guy.
They've got some guys, but they don't have a guy.
You know they have Kaiir Elam penciled in as a starting cornerback, right?
Dallas does?
Dallas does. The Bills guy.
Because of
is Bland back now? Is that official?
Because of injuries. They have injuries.
Let me triple check that because last time I checked, but they might not have had Bland in there. Oh no, Bland is back in. Okay, as a starter. Oh no, wait.
The starter should be Bland and Trevon Diggs as the starter, and then I think Carson is the nickel.
Officially, what they have right here is Elam and Diggs as the starters with Bland as the nickel. So anyway, you know who you're going to be picking on. Of course, the Eagles might have Kelly Ringo or Jacoby Bennett out there, so both teams have a hole somewhere in their secondary.
I will say it's interesting. Timo Risky made an interesting point about the trade, which was, what was Kenny Clark doing in that trade? If you think of where the Cowboys are and where they're going to be without Parsons, wouldn't it have made more sense for the Packers to keep Clark for their run defense and put in like a third-round pick? Like, couldn't the Packers use Clark more than a third-round pick, and couldn't the Cowboys use a third-round pick more than they can use Clark?
Right. That might have been the bait where to get Jerry and Steven on board. You had to give them somebody they could turn to their fan base and said, "Look, we got this Pro Bowler, this run defender. that could have been that literally could have been the logic. I think the Packers would have been better off keeping him. I'm guessing that was never an option.
Another thing I looked up, the Eagles were number 1 in defense last year against passes up the middle. Dak Prescott passes up the middle a lot. The Cowboys were 5th in passes up the middle and weaker against passes to the sides. What does Jalen Hurts specialize in?
Throwing it up the sidelines.
Throwing it up the sidelines. So
whoever
it really does. For a game, the opening game is supposed to be such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're lower on the Cowboys than conventional wisdom, but obviously when they scheduled this as the opening game and thought about the big rivalry, they didn't realize Parsons was going to be traded.
Right. Because this looked like a Cowboys team that could bounce back. I guess theoretically they could. I guess the big question here is, I don't like that 8.5 point spread as a better on Philly.
Oh, I think, well, yeah, I'm still going with the 8.5 point spread. The opening game, the defending champion tends to win by a couple of more points than the spread. I liked it better when it was like a 6.5 point spread.
Oh, yes.
But I think if I had to pick it now, I also like the under on this one, under 47.5.
Interesting.
The system likes the under because the Eagles' offense, as good as it was last year and as good as it was against the Cowboys, was not as good as people tend to think it was. And the Cowboys' offense, we don't have as good as most people seem to think it's going to be now that they have Pickens. So that's sort of a counterintuitive to go under on this game. But I think if I had to if I had to bet anything, it would be the Eagles with the 8.5.
I'm probably going to steer away from it. I would almost lean towards the Cowboys. Taking last year out, this tends to be a flavored rivalry where the Cowboys, even when they're the weaker team, get a game, snipe them a little bit. I do like the under. I just like the unders in season openers unless they're really low, because I think sometimes you'll get offenses that come out a little bit flat, and we might see that tonight.
Yeah, there's one of the other games we're covering. I also really like the under. We'll get to that in a second. I'll point out, by the way, first of all, again, if you watch us live on YouTube or Twitter, we do this at 11 a.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays, and you can ask questions and make comments live. The other thing I'll point out is all of the games we are covering this week had 2 matchups last year, because we are covering mostly a lot of divisional games in week 1. And then Baltimore-Buffalo on Sunday night, where they played in the playoffs. So it's sort of interesting that each of these games has 2 last year. The second game we're going to cover is Friday night's Brazil special, and it's Kansas City and the LA Chargers, where the Chiefs won last year, but not maybe by as much as, well, I guess knowing what the Chiefs did last year, it is by as much as you expect. They won by 2, and then they won by 7. I will point out that Ladd McConkey missed the second Chiefs-Chargers game last year. The interesting thing about this one is we know how much the Chargers want to run, and they've got Omarion Hampton now as their top running back. But remember, the Chiefs' run defense, which had been poor for so many years, they were actually better against the run than the pass last year.
Okay. Chargers will also have Najee Harris back. He has been practicing. He is okay. Eye injury on the 4th of July. Of course, they do not have Rashawn Slater on their offensive line, which is going to impact their ability to run the ball the way they want to.
Yeah. And, I feel, in general, some of this is just repeating what we've talked about in the preseason about preseason projections, because that's all we know about teams going into these games, and looking for matchup numbers can be sort of hard because you don't know what's changed from last year.
Right.
I'm not as big on the Chargers as most people are. I don't think you're quite as high on the Chargers as most people are.
Right.
And I think we both agree the Chiefs should be better this year, just less lucky. Although they, again, Rashee Rice is suspended for this game. Andrew says, I will forever be skeptical of the Chargers with Greg Roman.
Yeah.
Greg Roman sometimes seems to me like an offensive coordinator who has a time limit.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Or
his offenses tend to do pretty good for the first year or 2, and then they kind of get stagnated.
Or there's a high floor where there's sort of like a good execution on the running game, and he can set up some deep play action stuff. But then there's a low ceiling. That's another way to look at that.
A lot of it is the defense, expectations that the defense will regress. Some of that, the secondary, right? They got such a good performance out of Tarheeb Still last year.
Yes.
Is Tarheeb Still really that good?
And if he is, he's their best player. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, again, Mac.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I meant in the secondary. Is what I was
Yeah,
saying.
best in the
It's
second. Well,
him and
Derwin
Darwin.
James.
Him and
Yeah.
Darwin. He's the best corner of the group. Rashi Rice is out. By the way, Jalen Royals, the rookie, will be staying home. He's not going to Brazil. I'm not sure exactly what the injury is. So if the Chiefs might be going out there this week at wide receiver with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Juju Smith-Schuster as their top three, and almost nothing behind that. Problem is, if you look at,
Well, they'll do a lot of 2 tight ends. I like Noah Gray this year. I mean, you have to be in a pretty deep fantasy league or a tight end special fantasy league to actually care, but I do think Noah Gray was very good last year, and Kelsey's getting older, and they want to use Kelsey a little less, and I think Noah Gray will have a good year.
yeah, somebody actually asked me who's going to lead the Chiefs in receiving, and I was just like, that's kind of a loaded question. Juju, I think Juju might wind up like 100 catches, but for like 623 yards.
Yeah.
like receiving and yards will be 2 different things. I'll say this, by the way, last 3 years, you talk about the close games. Everybody knows about the close games. Against the spread in the division last 3 years, the Chiefs are 6-12.
Wow. Because I was about to say to you, the line is Chiefs -3.
If it was 3.5, I'd be doing sicko stuff and taking the Chargers, right? And if it gets to 4, I would take the Chargers. But straight ahead, I would probably just go with like a Chiefs money line, so it doesn't turn into some weird thing. I think it's -1.
Yeah, that sounds about right. About right.
Yeah.
The 1 p.m. game we're going to cover. This is the one of the 1 p.m. games that's going to the most of the country. Is the New York Giants at the Washington Commanders?
Why?
Because none of the 1 p.m. games are 2 really good teams. They did a good job this week of getting it so that the really good matchups are in the island games.
Oh, heavens. And they don't have Jet Steelers. That's going to be on the other network.
I thought about doing Jet Steelers, and I was like, do we want to talk about Aaron Rodgers? No, let's talk about Russell Wilson.
Okay, you got me. Let's talk about Russell Wilson, and let's talk about Jaden Daniels.
I did look up. Washington was 23rd against the deep pass last year. We know that Russell Wilson still excels at the deep pass, like crazy. Still good at the deep pass while he struggles with the short pass compared to other quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The other thing in here, I think, is the new look Washington offensive line with Tunsil and the rookie Connerly at right tackle,
right,
against that new look Giants pass rush with Abdul Carter and bumping Thibodeau to the inside sometimes. And oh my God, they're going to come after that new Washington offensive line. It's going to be hardcore. There's going to be a lot of Jaden Daniels scrambling.
And on that new offensive line, Sam Cosmi is still recovering from last year's injury. He's out for at least the first 4 games. It's going to be Andrew Wiley, kind of a familiar face, familiar name at guard in between Tunsil and Connerly, but somebody who's been knocking around the league for a while, not necessarily the guy you remember playing for the Chiefs a couple of years ago. That could be a weak link on that Commanders line.
The other thing I'll point out, I looked up a couple of matchup things. The Giants were dead last in DVOA against number 1 wide receivers last year, although they were not as bad in actual yards allowed per game. But that would seem to suggest McLaurin can do really well. And let's be honest, when you think Giants secondary, nobody stands out for me for the Giants secondary. And you're like, that's the guy who's going to shut down Terry McLaurin.
No, the guy who's going to shut him down is Abdul Carter and Brian Burns getting the Daniels and making him run. That's how they're going to do that.
And Daniels was better throwing outside last year. So I think he is going to test those Giants corners. I will point out that these games were close last year. The Commanders won 21-18 and 27-22. So the Commanders did sweep the Giants last year, but the games were closer than you might expect.
Right. They were tight. I remember one of them was like a field goal fest. Like the 21-18 was a 7 field goal, 21. It was something like that. I think the 18 was 6 field goals on the other side. And I think the Giants are going to be frisky. Didn't say they're going to be good. I think they're going to be frisky for the reasons you outlined, because you're going to get a lot of sacks. Neighbors is going to get his. They're going to have something at quarterback that's not Daniel Jones, whether it's Russ throwing deep or they switch over to dart. This is another one. I don't like them with this spread.
Yep. The spread is Commanders -6. So you like Giants +6.
I like Giants +6. I'd tease it. I'd tease it to 7 if I was going to play it. If I wind up playing it, I'll get myself the full touchdown, tease it with something else. But I'm high on the Commanders overall. But like again, these week ones, I don't like big spreads in week one. I think there's a little bit of what you don't know what you're going to get. You might not get in the first quarter what you're going to see the rest of the year. And I think this Giants team is going to play the Commanders tough.
Yes, useful title asks, wasn't one of those games one where the Giants kicker got hurt? And that's correct. There was a game where the Giants kicker got hurt. I think the 21-18 is not a field goal fest. I think that's a missing extra points fest or something.
Oh my God. And now I have to go look it up. But yeah, it was this chaos game. And they were, I think it's the Giants are marching downfield, but they can't kick field goals in that game. Yeah. So they're getting like to the 20-yard line and going for 4th and 7 and stuff like that. It's cranking up in my brain here. I'm trying to get it back. Maybe I should just abandon it. Talk about the next game.
Yeah. The big 4 p.m. game is Detroit at Green Bay. Back to the Micah Parsons trade here. Lions won this game last year 24-14 and then 34-31.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, 2 great teams, 2 teams that we love for this year. Packers last year were 2nd against deep passes, but 24th against short passes, which seems to be like Goff does like to throw short. Seems to be like a good Amon-Ra St. Brown game. Going the other way, Tucker Kraft is interesting to watch because the Lions were number 2 against tight ends last year. And I'm curious whether Terrion Arnold or new addition DJ Reed will be covering Matthew Golden more in his first game. This is the debut of the Matthew Golden experience, now wearing number 0.
Number 0. Oh, for gold.
Not 22, which was weird.
That was weird. He's much more of an Agent 0 type. Might be a big Amon-Ra game because the Packers injury report features Nate Hobbs, newcomer, that we think of generally as a
slot corner. Yep.
If there was a slot corner, he would be like an Amon eraser, sort of. He did not practice early in the week with a knee injury. It's hard to get a read on what's going on there. You mentioned the Golden era. Jaden Reed apparently has a Jones fracture in his foot. He did not practice early in the week. Neither did Savion Williams, the rookie receiver, and Dontavian Wicks, the pass-dropping specialist for the Packers. So it may be at receiver for the Packers, Golden, Matthew Dobbs, and Malik Heath.
Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. Who did I say?
And Matthew Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, and Malik Heath.
I will say, Michael Allen Brewer brings up a good point, which is I wonder if drops are consistent from year to year, and they generally aren't, but Wicks has had a problem for a couple of years.
Wicks had a problem in college. Wicks has never had – he would have been like a first-round pick if not for like a lot of drops. So,
I feel like what's interesting here is you're going to have to double Parsons, and then that sort of shows you the weakness of the new Lions interior.
Yes.
I think it's more likely that the Packers get interior pressure because they'll put a lot of attention on Parsons, but then you just don't know without Ragnow there. Now that you've got Mahogany and then the rookie whose name escapes me, who's the new center.
Rutledge. He's at guard and Glasgow's at center, I think.
Oh, Glasgow's at center. Rutledge is at guard and Mahogany's at guard.
And Mahogany. Christian Mahogany.
Oh, it's such a great name.
Lady sings the blues.
But I think you may be surprised by where the pressure comes from for the Packers in this game.
But it's going to come.
It's going to come. Absolutely.
You're going to test that interior line. The Lions' defense remains banged up. They also had a little scare. Tesla was not practicing, but according to Campbell, it's just a little bug, quote unquote.
Yeah. So the line is Packers -2.5.
No, the Packers injury report scares me because
I'm a Lions. I do think the Lions are a little underrated this year.
Okay.
The other one is I like under 47.5 in this game.
Interesting.
The Lions defense is going to be better than last year with better health. They've got Aiden Hutchinson. The Packers defense is going to be better now that it has Micah Parsons. And what I really think I would like would be a tease. If you teased 6 points, you could get Lions plus 8.5 and under 53.5.
Ooh, I love it. That's Aaron's million-star lock of the week.
That allows for a few more points, and it allows for a close Packers victory.
I like it. I can't pull the odds up for it right now, but that sounds cool. I might tease that one.
It's probably pretty basic odds because it's just teasing both things by 6 points. So it's probably
okay. So like keep it around the -105, -110. Okay. I like it. I think it makes sense.
And then the 8 o'clock game is really, really huge, the Sunday night game, which is Baltimore at Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills, of course, beat the Ravens 27-25 in the playoffs, but got clobbered by 35-10 early in the regular season. That was when the Ravens defense was struggling before they moved Kyle Hamilton. These are the two top teams in the DVOA projections. These are the two top teams in our Super Bowl odds. These are the two top passing offenses from last year. Oh my God, it should be good. Both teams surprisingly susceptible to wide receiver ones last year, except neither team really has a wide receiver one.
No. And Keon Coleman popped up on the injury report for the Bills, and Khalil Shaker has been on it for weeks and weeks. Shaker is probably going to play, but Coleman's popped up like Wednesday. Like he had not been on it for days and weeks. So he might have gotten hurt at practice.
The Ravens defense was relatively below average on first down passes, but so was the Bills offense. That was their weakness. So those sort of match.
Right.
The other thing I wrote down as far as matchups, the Ravens defense was really, really good in the red zone last year. Okay. That is likely to regress.
Right. That's a regression statistic in general, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this just seems like a fantastic matchup. Allen will do crazy things. He'll throw passes while falling off of the sidelines that guys will catch. And Lamar Jackson will do incredible things. And, I think the Bills have some safety questions. So you wonder about covering Andrews. But I think Isaiah Likely is going to miss this game.
Likely is out, but the Bills have some serious cornerback issues right now. In that both Christian Benford and Tre'Davious White have groin injuries and have been limited to out in practice. First round pick is on the PUP, Maxwell Hairston, or the IR. He's not going to be around for a while, certainly. So they're going to be pretty thin at cornerback. That's going to cause a problem with their safety issues. Speaking of cornerback issues, guess who might not be available for this game for the Ravens?
Marlon Humphrey?
Jaire Alexander.
Jaire Alexander, what a shock.
What a shock. Now, he returned from his knee injury to practice last week, and they asked Harbaugh, and he said, quote, "We'll see how it goes."
Yeah.
Packers fans know how it goes. Sorry, John.
Sergio says, how do you feel about the Bills' pass catchers? They just don't have a one. I think they've got lots of twos, and they have a good tight end in Kincaid. And the running backs are good at catching passes, and there's just no clear one. Nobody's the obvious. And I'm not a Curtis Samuel. I've just never been a Curtis Samuel guy.
No, he's slotty guy. Shakir is a little bit of an Amon-Ra light who's pretty good. Like if they featured him more, he'd be more. We got to see with Keon Coleman. But you're right. If they get what they get from their tight ends and do the everybody feeds thing and everyone is healthy, it should.
Josh Palmer is a 2 who has value. I think Keon Coleman is really a 2.
Yeah.
So there's really no one.
Boy, Xavier Worthy would have looked so good on that. You just make sure you say that whenever you're on Buffalo radio, by the way, Aaron. They love it.
Mix-A-Wave says neither quarterback played in the preseason. Is there any chance the first half or so is sloppy? Yeah. I'd say there's a chance. Absolutely.
Right. That's one reason I don't love.
These are defenses that make you sloppy.
Exactly. That's one reason I don't like big spreads in week one, because you might just have both offenses out there sputtering for the first couple drives. Eagles, Cowboys could be in a similar situation.
Well, this is not a big spread.
No.
The spread is Bills -1, which means Vegas, like DVOA, thinks the Ravens are slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
But this game is huge. This game, I mean, obviously we'll see what happens with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
This game very much could decide home field advantage in the AFC. Start right off the bat, we could be deciding home field advantage in the AFC. I think I like Buffalo because they have the home field advantage. I'm worried about those cornerback groin injuries, but I think the home field advantage tips me to Buffalo.
The injuries tip me the other direction on that because they're all clustered at cornerback. That's been this position that they tried to solve, and the two guys they brought in to solve it are among the injury reports. I'll give you one more. Quietly, their kicker has been, that's Tyler Bass, has been nursing quote-unquote pelvic soreness throughout the summer.
That's not good for a kicker.
That's not pelvic soreness for a kicker or for all of us. But for
you want your kicker to have a shoulder soreness.
Yeah. Yes. You want them to have a pelvic suppleness. They had a rookie kicker out there during the preseason. You might have noticed that Ray Davis kicked a couple of times.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun. That's because Bass was working through this injury. Bass is playing. All these little things tip me in this particular game to the Ravens. So I'm going to take the Ravens in this one.
Michael Allen Brewer wants to know if the change from 4 preseason games to 3 has changed week 1 performances. The answer is we don't really know. I've never done research on that, and it's only been a couple of years of this. I don't know whether there's enough sample yet to say, like, even if I had done research on it, I don't know if there's enough sample to say, oh, yeah, week 1 is more. I think it has more to do with whether guys play in the preseason, and that's changed because it used to be week 3 was, week 3 of the preseason was the dress rehearsal, and then no one played week 4. And now it's a mix. Yeah. Some teams are playing guys in week 1, and some teams are playing guys in week 2, and some teams are playing guys in week 3, and there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it.
No, Patrick Mahomes is out there in the 3rd week. Everybody else has got Easton Stick or whoever, and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are running around. It would be what a study to try to normalize, because you'd have to get that, and then you'd have to do for week 1 expectation performance versus performance. That is a headache of a study, so someone else can do that. Yeah. I'll read the results happily when they do.
All right, that does it for our week 1 preview. Oh my God, it's so nice to be doing.
Oh, that's great.
And we will be back again on Monday. We start our Monday shows again this Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we will review all these games and then preview Minnesota and Chicago. And again, don't forget FTN Football Almanac 2025, now at a lower price, still available, ftnfantasy.com/almanac. And like and review the show if you're listening to us as a podcast. I always have to put that in at the end.
Yes.
Because it helps people find us. Tell your friends to find the show. All right, Mike Tanier, I'm Aaron Schatz, and we will talk to you guys Monday. Enjoy real football tonight. So long, everyone.